All right, we are at UFC Jim's very first podcast that we've ever done. And we could only have one person start off that podcast, and that is Michael the Count Bisping. Michael, welcome to our podcast.
What is the podcast called?
It is called UFC Gym, #Train Different, #podcast, and for the month of January, #Boxing Conditioning.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor, and I'll address the camera like you are doing.
Yep.
You know, I feel that in a previous life or perhaps a dream life, you want to be a TV presenter because on all these types of things, you do a really good job, and you know, in your mind, you are hosting The Price is Right.
Well, actually, the way I look at it is I try to make people that are less famous more famous. Okay. And so by me being in a room with somebody like yourself, I'm able to take that brand and just really blow it out.
It's amazing. Thank you very much.
You.
Okay. All right. The floor is yours,
right.
Mr. Sedlak.
So
by the way, I just want to say, this is his idea. I walked in here, I've been to the gym, I had a very, very nice, healthy lunch. I went to Seasons, everything's under 500 calories. You know, I've drank my water, I've had my amino acids. I walk in and you present me with a tray of beer, which I'm not complaining about, by the way. I'm very, very happy to see it. But I just wanted to make that clear.
Do you mind if I provide you some feedback on that, Mike?
Yes.
Mike and I have been talking about emotional intelligence over the last 4 weeks. We have very, what I would call philosophical conversations. But if we were to ask podcast land out there about who brought the beer in, and I use the reference point of GSP's press conference. And,
yeah. Well, that is why I felt the need to bring this up. I see where you're going. It's because I'm already tarred with that brush. Mm-hmm. You know, so, you know. Stop.
Actually, I got it from you because I was nervous.
You are perpetuating a myth.
I was nervous.
You are perpetuating a myth. Listen, like any man, I enjoy a few beers here and there. Yeah. I'm an average man, but I'm not a drunk.
You are not a drunk.
But we will finish that.
But let's. What I want to do is So I know Mike. We've been to dinner 5 or 6 times. I had the chance to pay for all those, and we've been out.
Who paid last time?
You did. We've been out socially, and but as I think I know Mike, I don't know if I really know Mike. And so I want to dig into a couple questions that I've thought about that maybe the average UFC fan would want to know about. So first of all, the nickname The Count.
Yes.
Well, let me ask it this way. There's 3 nicknames that I don't know if you know that you had. As I did some research on you, I found out that there was another nickname called the Great British Hope.
Oh.
Do you know about that nickname?
No, I don't know. I was going to say, I'm assuming that they're not going to be complimentary.
No, they're very...
I have many nicknames, you know, in many circles, and neither are any that you would repeat in front of your grandmother.
But you're most proud of the Count, is that right?
It's not that I'm proud of it, that's just the one that kind of sticks. So when I first started doing MMA in its true form that we know and recognise it as today, because I did MMA for a long time, and we just didn't know it was MMA back then, in the early 90s. I used to do these tournaments called Knockdown Sport Budo, which was basically MMA, but as I say, that term hasn't been coined yet, if you will. My old instructor from when I was 8 years old, he lived in another city, but he used to come up to Clitheroe, which is where I'm from. On occasion, he was the head instructor. He had a bunch of clubs. He'd come up and do seminars, whatever. And then we realised he was very good. So my dad used to drive me down to Nottingham twice a week to train with this guy when my dad recognised I had a skill for this type of thing. And he was an eccentric guy.
How old were you at this point?
I was like 9, 10 years old. 10, 11, something like that, actually. Started at 8, probably about 10, 11 by the time I started going down to Nottingham. And as I started getting older, I mean, I won pretty much I won every martial art tournament I ever entered as a child, so I knew I was good. And then when I left school at 16, unfortunately, I didn't go to college or none of that. Started doing jobs. And when, you know, you've got £150 a week in your pocket, when you're 16, you think you're rich. You know, living at home with your mum and dad, of course you don't see that in the grand scheme of things. That isn't going to take you very far. And then when I got older, I thought, what am I going to do with myself? And I tracked down this guy. And he told me all about the explosion of MMA. And one thing led to another. And he agreed to train me and help me out financially until I got to a certain level. Anyway, he said, you should call yourself The Count because of its, and I'll get to that in a minute, why The Count. But I didn't want to do it. Now, the reason he said The Count was because initially he was focused on us fighting in Pride in Japan, and he thought the Japanese would love that. See, my ancestors are they're counts. My granddad was a count. He was a Polish count, aristocracy, whatever you want to call it. And the story goes, and the family coat of arms relates to this. In the Middle Ages, there was a war, and my great-great-great-great-great-granddad, whatever, played a part. He climbed over a mountain in the middle of the night, went into enemy territory, counted how many campfires and tents there were. Based upon that knowledge, they led a successful dawn raid. They won this war, this battle, pardon me, and to recognise his bravery, whatever, he was awarded the title of Count and given a ton of land. And from then on, they lived a very, very privileged lifestyle.
Royalty, almost royalty.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's these books, The History of the Bisping Family, Noble Flight, Noble Youth, and it details all of this stuff, and it has pictures of these huge estates in Poland. Masalani was the name of one of them. There's another
does
one.
your family have a big web? I mean, are you extended out?
Massive, in Europe.
Yeah.
And what happened was, obviously, World War II started, and then where this estate was, Masalani, one night it was fine, and then the borders changed overnight. Obviously World War II, and then they woke up in German-controlled territory. The Germans came in, lined all my family up against the wall, shot them all dead with guns.
You're kidding me.
I swear to God. My granddad was the only one that made it out alive.
Was he lined up with them, or was he not in there?
I'm not entirely sure about that. My dad, if he was here, would bore you to death on this. This is all he talks about all the time. But anyway, my granddad made it to England, had my dad, so on and so forth. That's why there's books called Noble Flight and Noble Youth. Noble Youth is about him growing up. Noble Flight was him escaping the Germans on horseback, shooting Germans with a shotgun.
Let me make sure I understand this. So when did your dad come over as well, or was he born?
No, my dad was born in England.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So anyway, my dad was always proud of this rich history.
Yep.
But I wasn't born with a silver spoon. We very opposite. We call them council houses in England. It's just, very, very, very working class, very, very humble working class background. But we still have family in Europe that we don't really speak to because they're disassociated, that are loaded. But my dad would always talk, you're a count, Michael, you're a count, and he would instill that in us. And Paul Davis, that was this guy's name, he was like, Mike, you should call yourself the count. I was like, no, Jesus Christ, that's all my dad talks about. I don't want to do that. It embarrasses me, whatever. I was younger then. Of course, now I'm proud of it. But, I didn't want to do it. But he told the ring announcer on my first fight, my old coach, call him the count. And it just stuck from there. That is... Yeah. There's the story.
That's the story.
Everyone thinks it means out for the count or whatever for the count. People think they like to drop the O.
I think your story probably trumps most all stories out there of why the count's the count.
Well, there you go. You could have made that shit up. Yeah, I mean, you could if you were, you could.
So you were born in Nicosia?
Cyprus, yeah.
Yeah.
Cyprus, which is...
No memory of that, though.
Zero. Yeah, which is an army base. There was a British army base in Cyprus, which is very close to Turkey. And born on the army base, which is technically British soil for all those haters out there. When I first got in the UFC, they're all like, he's not even English. He was born in Cyprus. He's a dirty kebab eating Turk. But not that there's anything wrong with being Turkish, by the way.
Turkish is great.
Yeah, Turkish, I love, and I love kebabs.
Soon the Turkey.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it was technically in British soil. I don't give a shit. British, Cypriot, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a person of the world.
But you're proud to be British, of course.
I am fiercely British, yeah.
So what is odd to me is that the average 9-year-old probably doesn't want to go get hit.
No.
And doesn't want to engage in MMA. And I'm just curious, as you make those decisions and you find it fun to get in fights, what do you think triggered that?
If you want the truth, and I've spoke about this, not in this capacity, but, we have an open family. Mm-hmm. I witnessed a lot of violence as a child. So a lot of violence as a kid. It was a very volatile household, we'll put it like that. Love my mum and dad dearly, but yeah, there you go.
It's a different time.
It was a different time. My dad had a hell of a temper. He loved us dearly. He strived and he struggled and he did everything he could for us. But did I get my ass severely kicked regularly? Yeah, of course I did, yeah. And I probably deserved it a lot of the time as well, if I'm honest. So I'm not trying to paint a sob story. You know, I used to drive my parents crazy. And on top of that, I had older brothers. And there was just a lot of violence around.
But, you know, the interesting thing is probably 99 out of 100 people would then take a left and go into crime. So you took a right and went into MMA, and you were really able to channel all that negative energy to MMA, right?
Yeah. So for me, when I was younger, I had a lot of fights on the street because I was so used to. It was normal. I was used to seeing violence. I was used to getting into fights. I was getting into fights at home. My brothers and sisters beat me. My mum and dad would beat me up, you know. And then I'd go out and I'd settle problems with my fists as well because I thought it was normal. Of course, you get older and this and that, you realise it's not. And I remember one time in Clitheroe, this drug dealer basically actually propositioned me and said, "Mike, no one messes with you. You know, you can make a lot of money.
Join the gang."
And you help us out. You can make a ton of money. I was like, nah, I'm good. Thanks. I don't want to be a career criminal. Mike, thank you very much. That's not what.
How old were you at that point?
About 17.
But isn't that interesting that you're in this tough environment, you're having challenges, you're in fights all the time, and all of a sudden somebody gives you this wide open door, path of least resistance. Come join me. You're going to have plenty of money. You're going to have plenty of women. Don't worry about anything. But you made the right decision to.
Well, because I was never a criminal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yes, I'm still. I'm not a dishonest person. I'm not a criminal. Have I had a few scraps when I was younger? You know, have I got into a few bar fights when I was drinking when I was too young to handle alcohol? Yeah, of course I did. I don't do that now, but I'm not a criminal. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a thief. I'm not dishonest. So that to me wasn't appealing in the slightest. You know.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's pretty simple. It's a pretty obvious answer if you ask me. Of course, some people that aren't as intelligent or don't hold their morals as highly as I do. Yeah, of course, maybe you could do that. But I think I just did what most people would say. If I'm honest,
all I'm saying is that the easy path and most people in your situation would have went that way.
I don't know.
I think that when you throw in MMA and you throw in that you started appreciating the sport, I think you saw that change.
To be honest, I wasn't appreciating the sport then. The sport didn't even really exist, and I didn't even know what the UFC was. When I started doing MMA, I'd seen the UFC in 1995. I was in New Zealand. I went to the World Jiu-Jitsu Championships, which again was MMA. I don't know why they called it Jiu-Jitsu. We had gloves on, you could do throws, strikes, everything. But it was called Jiu-Jitsu Championships. Because actually that's real Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just on the floor. But the real Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is the first ever martial art. And all of the martial arts were taken from it. So I correct myself actually, I'm incorrect. That is real Jiu-Jitsu, sport Jiu-Jitsu. And I was there and we were staying in a youth hostel in Auckland. And somebody put on the first ever UFC. And that's all I'd seen of it. And then from there, as I said, it was a string of dead-end jobs. And I was like, one day, you know, I was in my early 20s and we had 2 kids. I was like, Jesus Christ, you know, is this what it's going to be? Is this life? Yeah. And as I said, I tracked down my old coach and I said, you know, I want to... Well, initially I was going to be a boxer. I went to a local boxing gym. I joined there. I got my boxing license, had some amateur fights.
Which is why you're known as a striker, right?
Yeah, but I did a lot of prior to this point as well. I'd done a lot of kickboxing. Yeah. You know, I was a British champion, European champion, all kinds of stuff, multiple times. But then, you know, I started hanging around with friends. You know, going out partying at the weekends and not giving a damn about martial arts. And then, as I say, I got to this point in my life in my early 20s where I wanted more from life.
How much of success at that point was genetics and how much was hard work?
When I was younger, when I first... A lot of it wasn't... I mean, it was natural talent and that was pretty much... So, for example... The reason I decided to do something like this was because this guy that I worked with called Mick, I used to load couches onto the back of a wagon all day long. We checked them for any faults, and if they were good, we packaged them up, put them onto a couch. And Mick said to me, Michael, you're a smart guy. Is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? And I said, no, of course. And he said, well, have a think about what you want to do. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. He said, well, have a think and come back to me. So I did. I thought about it, and eventually I went up to him and I said, I figured it out. And he went, oh, great. He put down what he was doing. He came on. He was like, tell me, Michael, I'm really intrigued. Let me know. I said, I'm going to be a professional fighter. And he was like, oh my God. He looked at me like I was the biggest fucking moron he'd ever seen. He was like, I meant go to college, get a degree, do this. And he was like, whatever. And I said, no, Mick. I know what I'm doing. So I brought in a video the next day of one of my old kickboxing fights. And this goes back to the question what you asked. I showed it to him and I beat the guy in like...
Your kickboxing what?
One of my old kickboxing fights.
Oh, fights.
Fights, yeah. What did you say?
I misheard you. Go ahead.
Kickboxing farts. Kickboxing fight. Bouts. Contests. Whatever you want to call them. And I showed it to him.
To Mick.
To Mick. Okay. I showed it to him. And I said, see, look, I know what I'm doing. I said, what did you think? He says, that was just pure aggression, wasn't it? So that goes back to that, to answer your question. It was a lot of it was just pure aggression, you know. And even still, when I started doing MMA, I tracked down this guy that I used to train with when I was a kid. He told me to quit work, move away, which my wife let me do, God bless her, which a lot of women wouldn't let me do, pardon me, when we were already in debt and the bills are piling up. You know, there's not many women would let you do that, but she believed in me. Yeah. And I moved away and I was doing that. What was the question?
We were talking about Mick. We were talking about why you had that aggression or why.
Oh yeah. No. Sorry. Within 3 months though of moving away, sleeping in my car, I had my first ever fight, and I won that fight within 30 seconds. But even still, then I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I had some kickboxing background. I couldn't grapple to save my life and this and that. But still, even back then, it was a lot of aggression. And then what happened is, over the course of all these years, I've learned the skills. And I'll be honest, I think the skills have got better and the aggression's gone down. Yeah. And you know, and people say to me, they say, we need to see that old Bisping. We want to see that old Bisping. Come on. I'm like, well, that old Bisping isn't there anymore.
In a fight, how long does aggression last?
I don't. Yeah, that's a good question. I can't give you the answer. But in those early days, the aggression lasts long enough to get the job done. Yeah. But it can't last forever because then that adrenaline, that spike, it does go.
I was going to say when you're competing against guys that have similar talents that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. When you're fighting against the best, aggression doesn't cut the mustard anymore. Yeah. It doesn't get the job done.
Unless you do a lot of boxing conditioning. If you do a lot of boxing conditioning,
you can go all day. You can go all day.
You can go all day long. So it's the other thing that getting to know you, you know, you're, I think a lot of people don't know, first of all, that you're really a smart guy. You got this public image that you're a partier and you go out and you do X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, you're a great family man. You're a very intelligent guy, and I look at the way that you parent, and you're such an incredible parent to your kids.
Well, thank you.
And the way you treat them is with much softer hands than the way you were treated as you were being brought up.
Oh, massively. You know, I mean, it's you know, I again, you know, like people have the amount of times. People have asked me to do books and things like that, and I won't do it, you know. And I love my parents dearly, and you know, my dad worked his ass off. We never went short.
It was a different time back.
Yeah,
it's what your dad.
Yeah,
did,
exactly. And it wasn't. I wasn't the only one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You know, in the 70s and the 80s. Yeah. Getting your ass kicked. All right, my dad was a little bit mental. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He was a little bit extreme, as was my mother. But and I'm a little extreme. We're an extreme family. We are. Which,
by the way, like I had a chance to spend time with your dad in New York.
He's awesome.
Nobody loves you more than your father.
Oh no, of course, and I love my dad passionately. I love my dad. Of course, if it weren't for my dad, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Yeah. And every time I see him, I tell him that it's down to my dad. My dad gave up. In some ways, a part of his marriage, because he just dedicated his life to us children. My brothers, driving him around the country, driving me around the country. You know what I mean? So that definitely put a strain on. So yeah, of course. But no, I would never dream of, you know, treating my children the way that I was treated. I'd be in prison.
But in a lot of cases, people don't recognize that, right? So because it's the way you're brought up, you feel like that's the way you treat others. You don't do it out of forethought. You do it just be reactionary to the way you think, and you get hijacked emotionally, right? And you just do things, but you've figured out a way not to get hijacked.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily think I'm not being hijacked, but I mean, my mum and dad had a very back and forth relationship. Shall we politely say that? And I've never lifted my hand to my wife yet. Still, and we've still got plenty of time.
I think she could kick your ass.
Yeah, exactly. She might get a good slap one day though. So I don't want to speak too soon. See, that's my sense of humour, which gets me in trouble sometimes because I say things like that, and then when it's printed in text,
it creates headlines for me and it creates impressions for me, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. But of course, no, I wouldn't do that. No.
Yeah. So, as you evolved, when I was reading up on your childhood, it looks like you literally kicked everybody's ass in town. Like you were winning one fight after the other. Then you started competing in MMA, and you went through all the competition. Did people start trying to plug at you and get you to go work for them or be part of their production?
What do you mean production?
MMA production or boxing production?
Yeah. Well, I mean, once I started fighting professionally, to be honest, it all started happening really quick. I was beating everybody fast in the first round, all by knockout, and I was the Cage Warriors champion, which is still a good organisation to this day. I was the Cage Rays champion, which was probably after the UFC and Pride, the next biggest organisation back then. And I was FX3 champion, which was another organisation, and I was the kickboxing champion as well, all at one time. So they could. I was the champion of all the organisations. That sounds very braggadocious, but it's fact.
Which, by the way, before I forget, let's give some props to your son on wrestling.
Oh, massively.
So I remember in 2011, you came into Tour Corona, and I made your son go do Zumba class.
Yes.
Just a little pipsqueak back then.
He really was.
And then you fast forward now, the guy's one of the top ranked guys in the division on wrestling. We'll talk a little bit about it.
Well, he only started wrestling at high school. Yep. So the whole time he's playing catch-up. Yeah. Because a lot of, good wrestlers, they start when they're very young. He'd done some jiu-jitsu, started wrestling, fell in love with it straight away. He's absolutely obsessed. Fast forward a few years now, and he's the number one ranked kid in Orange County. He just wrestled the number one kid in state last week. Beat him. He's absolutely crushing it. And every year he's closing the distance more, technically and physically. Pardon me. So the physicalities have always been there, but he's closing the gap technically.
Yeah. And he's a big boy. Right?
Oh yeah, he's bigger than me now. Yeah. He wrestles at 195.
Is there any father-son competitions?
Yeah, all the time.
And how does he fare?
Well, I know how I can beat him. But we, because he's very strong. Yeah. And I'm getting older now. I don't know what you do, Adam, but. I'm natural. I don't know about you, but I haven't taken any steroids, and I'm not as strong as I used to be. We'll mess around, and he grabs me, and I'm like, "Whoa, get off!" Because he's very strong and he's a good wrestler. So I'll go up and I'll mess around. Hey, son, and then he has no control, and he's picking me up in the air. I'm like, "Get the hell off me!"
But the time's coming. There's going to be that time
for sure.
He's going to pin your ass, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's coming.
See. Well, we'll see.
So, when as you look at everything you've been through, right, and then you have created this road for yourself to get into the UFC, and we know the story. I think you were in the Ultimate Fighter. I think you were the first light heavyweight to win the Ultimate Fighter. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And
season 3.
And so talk a little bit about that when you got the call to be on the Ultimate Fighter, and obviously at that point you've already seen the Forrest Stephan Bonner fight and you're excited, but talk about that, what that meant to you.
So when the Ultimate Fighter came on TV in England, at this point I was training to be a professional fighter, I guess I was a professional fighter, but I did very, very early stages. And the Ultimate Fighter came on TV, and as I said, back then, a lot of the time I was sleeping in my car at night, and I was watching it, and I said to my wife, Rebecca, I said, "Geez," I said, "look at this would be amazing." And she wouldn't watch it. She said, "I can't watch it. I'm not watching it." I said, "Why not?" She said, "Because it's not fair, Michael. You should be on there, and I know if you got on there, you'd win it." And I was like, well, still, it's great. Can't stop me watching the program. I still enjoy it, And then, lo and behold, about 6 months later, they were doing auditions in England for the next season of The Ultimate Fighter, and they were having open auditions in Earl's Court in London, and went down to the auditions, and the good news is that everybody else that was trying out for light heavyweight, I'd knocked everybody out. Literally everybody,
Yeah.
you know. So I remember Forrest held pads for me, and Dana was there, and he looked at me and he said, "Holy shit, 10-0." I said, "Yeah, all first round knockouts as well." He went, "Really?" He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Against all these," and everyone else trying out was kind of behind me, you know. So I was always a dick even back then. So it was kind of a no-brainer, if I'm honest, as humble as I can be.
So during that season, was there at any time that you were concerned that you were going to lose one of the matches, the preliminary matches?
Yeah, I mean, I went there with one thing on my mind, and that was to win the show. Simple as that. And prior to going on the show, I trained as if I was going for a fight.
Yeah.
I was training my ass off. I was running. I was sprinting.
You were ready day one.
Ready day one.
Yeah.
And I got there, and people were out of shape. And this one guy, Christian, he was like, "Well, I'm going to use the show to get in shape." I'm like, "What do you mean? What if you fight in 3 days?" You know, like you and one of the evaluations that Ken Shamrock had us doing, we had to, I don't know, pick up some sandbags, do this, and we had to do 500 squats and 300 push-ups or something. It might have been the other way around. I'm not sure. I said, and they paired you up, and they paired me up with this guy. I said, "Okay, so the squats." I said, "Let's just do them in sets of 50, just body weight squats." I said, "We'll do 50, and then we'll take like a minute of rest." You know, so you stand up, and we're doing this, 2, 3. We're getting to 17, and he's like, and I'm like, "Dude, really? 17? You got another 483 left to go, so you better get your shit together."
And he thinks he's going to go 9 minutes in an octagon.
Incidentally, that was the guy I picked for my first fight. It's true. Christian Rothermel, God bless him. Christian, if you ever see this, I was like, I got my pick, and they said, "Who do you want to fight?" I said, "Yeah, give me Christian." Yeah. I'm thinking this guy's fucking useless. Pardon my language.
First round knockout, obviously. Right?
Path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I wanted to win.
But I got to think that as you were going through this show, so at this point you don't have a lot of money, right?
No, flat broke, skint.
Isn't that just a ton of pressure that you're taking on? Because you know if you lose that first fight, you're going home and you're probably not getting the contract. And you're not going to make a lot of money off of it. But if you win this show, you know that all of a sudden you're in a position to really change your life.
Huge pressure. You know, I mean, as I say, some people, they went there for TV time. Some people went because it seems like a cool thing to do. Many different reasons. You know, I was there to win the show. And, you know, doing MMA was purely and solely a financial situation. I did it to make money. Simple as that. I didn't do it because I wanted to find myself. I wanted to test myself or anything like that. I wanted to make money and look after my family and give them a good lifestyle. Simple. So I went there with that mindset. And yeah, of course that brings pressure. Of course it does. But under the pressure, that brings out the best version of yourself. You know, of course it brings pressure, but that because of that pressure, that makes me train hard, that makes me push myself, it makes me excel at what I'm doing, so then therefore I win. So the pressure, adrenaline, all those things combined, they can be your best friend. You need that pressure. Yeah. Otherwise, if it's easy, then you're not going to apply yourself.
But, you know, I think that when you talk about absorbing yourself into that, and there's the financial pressure to take care of your family, but you were able to also absorb yourself into each of these disciplines because you weren't a one-trick pony. I mean, you started training in multiple disciplines, right? At that point. And so did you find, because the transformation of who Mike Bisping is from this kid that had a tough childhood to this good parent that's a fairly educated guy that has had an incredible record in the UFC, I think a lot of that can be associated with the respect of the disciplines that you were training in. So as you were training in jiu-jitsu and as you were training in kickboxing and boxing and everything else that you're doing, I think you're finding more about yourself as you got better in each one of those disciplines.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to decipher what you're trying to get at there, but
well, example, you take jiu-jitsu, right? So if you're a white belt and you're going in and doing jiu-jitsu, you're probably going to hurt a black belt in a way that's not, you know, because they don't know what they're doing. A white belt doesn't know what they're doing.
No, that's absolutely right. So to give you another comparison, a lot of the time, if I'm sparring, and then someone comes in, they're not very good. I don't want to spar them.
Mm-hmm.
Not because, all right, they're not very good or they're not going to push me or whatever. It's because they don't follow the rules. Right? A polished orthodox striker, they will, there's rules. You throw a jab, you throw a 1-2, left hook, whatever, you slip, you move. There's certain things that a polished guy does. A guy that doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know what he's going to do. So how the hell am I supposed to anticipate what he's going to do? They just fling arms everywhere and this and that, and they get all wild, and you end up getting caught of something crazy, or you end up getting hurt. So it goes back to exactly what you're saying. Another guy flailing about, a crazy mad mess ball of energy, and things can get hurt and broken.
But that tells me you're focused on your awareness and what's around you and in the situation that you're in, and it tells me that you understand the disciplines that you've built confidence in over the years, right? So it's how you're looking at life because of your dedication to the craft. You look at life differently.
I would like to agree. I just think for me, if I'm being brutally honest, it was just a case of everything rolling along with that, my level of maturity. Yes, I was getting better at martial arts. I was becoming a student of the world. I was learning more things. I was out of my bubble in this tiny little small town where no one, no disrespect to anyone there, there's fine people live there, but it's a small town in a bubble, and some people are ambitious, some people aren't. They're just happy, and there's nothing wrong with that. The world needs people like that. But for me, I was out there, I was exploring the world, I was getting better at martial arts, I was traveling, I was in the UFC, I was maturing and growing as a person as my skill set in martial arts also developed. So it was, and the main thing was I was growing up. I was growing up. I was distancing myself from some of my other behaviour patterns and getting better as a human being. I was learning to control my temper. I used to have the worst temper ever, the most outrageous temper.
I can see that.
So no, but now I'm trust
now
me.
You're tamed.
You've got no idea. My poor wife. Jesus Christ.
By the way, Rebecca is an absolute angel.
Oh, she is. She's the best.
And you definitely found the keeper there.
Yeah.
So we should probably move it along here because it is interesting. Your whole childhood is interesting.
Move it along. Let's get to UFC gym, and now we're going to promote them.
Well, I got
and box and burn and
box and burn.
Bloody whatever it is, cardio kickboxing. That's in Santa Monica. Sorry, that's another gym.
Let's make sure we plug that bit out. Hashtag Santa Monica. Just find them there.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I meant boxing exercise. That's kind of what they do.
Boxing conditioning through authentic movements of an incredible UFC athlete like yourself.
What about it?
That's what the class is framed on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so what the reason, by the way, we decided to do a class like that is because people want to burn 800 to 1,000 calories in an hour.
Yep.
And what people look at people doing boxing and just hitting bags, and they think it's not a hard workout.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I've hit bags my entire life. I was down there this morning hitting bags, and it's like anything. You get out what you put in, and even with a bag or with running, the fitter you get, the more your output can be. So you can never say I'm hitting a bag. I don't get tired anymore because you can hit it harder, you can hit it faster, you can hit it with more volume. So hitting a bag in terms of a cardio workout, in terms of getting a sweat on, burning calories, eliminating stress, taking out some of those frustrations, working on your technique, working on pushing yourself and discipline, because it's hard, and you look at the time and there's still half a round left, and you're like, it's up to you. Am I going to step off the gas, or am I going to push it for these next 60 seconds or 90 seconds and do my rest on the minute's rest, So there's a big internal dialogue, and there's a struggle going on, because at any time you can step off the gas, or you can pretend you're not too tired and just do that, or hit light. You can going as hard as you can is a lot harder than doing that 10 times. You know what I mean? And only you can really monitor how much effort you're putting into hitting that. you know.
Well, what entertains me is when I go to these traditional fitness clubs, and I'll let you mention them if you'd like, but I won't mention them. I'll take the high road.
No, it's fine.
And I watch people work out on a treadmill for 20 minutes, and I see them go do some machines for 20 minutes, and they start flexing in front of the mirror like their body's changed, and all of a sudden they're in the best shape of their life. They're not putting any hard work in. They're not disciplined. They're not going after changing their body and changing their lifestyle. They think they're doing it, but they're not really doing it.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with you. You know,
go ahead. Tell me why.
No. So just clarify your statement one more time.
Mm-hmm.
So people that go to the gym,
mm-hmm.
they lift weights, they run on the treadmill.
They do the treadmill for 3 miles an hour for 20 minutes. They walk on the treadmill, then they go do some machines for 20, 30 minutes. And they do the same workout that they did 10 years ago.
It's better than nothing though, Adam.
It gets you. It's better than nothing.
I hear what you're saying. But still, for some people, and I'm not making excuses for them. It's just all they can muster, for want of a better word.
You're right, but what motivates people to keep working out?
Results.
And if you stop getting results, 90% of the time you're going to stop working out.
True.
So
Absolutely.
I do agree with you.
I had this with my wife on our honeymoon.
You made her go work out on your honeymoon?
No, she was like, I'm getting no results. I'm stopping working out. I'm sick of all this working out. I'm like, no, you're not. Don't tell me on my honeymoon, on our honeymoon,
it was a trick.
That you're done working out.
Right.
She's like, no, but I'm getting no results. I said, well, you got to try harder. Yeah. Okay, simple as that.
Well, you're catching daily doubles before the wedding.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, hold on, we're on the honeymoon. You're telling me your working out days are over. I said, no, your working out days have just started.
No, but Mike, here's my whole point. When you think about traditional gyms, the bottom line is, in most cases, people work out and they look the same they did 3 years ago.
Sure.
And there's some occasions, right, where maybe somebody looks a little bit different because they're more serious about it. But when I look at people that do boxing classes and do high intense boxing conditioning classes, not only do I see them physically get better results, like if somebody wants to lose weight, right, they tend to lose weight faster. But I also see them more engaged in the workout. Like they're really into the workout and they're focused on training hard. And I think part of that's driven by a coach. Part of it is I think they find, you talked about it earlier about finding the best version of yourself through a lot of the things that you did. I think they start finding the best version of themselves as they learn technique and they learn how to hit. There's something empowering about hitting a bag hard.
Yeah, well there's that. And you're not just working out. You're working out your brain as well. Yeah. You're learning technique. You're working out physically, of course. You work in your muscles, you work in your cardio system, you work in your brain. There's many things. It's much better. It really is.
It's addictive.
Of course it is. Yeah. That's part of the reason I still do what I do. I mean, of course, financially it's been successful, but I do thoroughly enjoy it, and I'll miss it. I may or may not be having one more fight, and I'll still go in the gym, still work out, still hit the bags.
Still hit mitts, still hit bags?
Oh, of course, yeah. I did some this morning, So, I love it. I love that release. There's no better feeling for me, especially when on the mitts. I mean, the bag's great, but on the mitts is great when you're working with somebody else and you get the feedback on the mitt and it makes that nice bang. It's great. It's great. The feedback's fantastic.
So when you're hitting mitts or you're doing a boxing class, that feeling that you get, right? There's something that tells you to keep on going and push yourself harder. There's so many people out there that are afraid to get out of their comfort zone. They're used to doing the treadmill. They're used to doing a flat bench, and that's what they do. How do you think we would want to talk to those people that are afraid to get out of that comfort zone and get into a boxing class?
Well, I think there's possibly two reasons, maybe there's more, but the two obvious ones I would say that they're not doing it is, one, because they're intimidated by it, which is absolutely no need to be intimidated, but B, probably three. B, they can't be bothered. Because it's a lot easier to lie back on a bench and lift your weights. Now, by the way, I'm not knocking bodybuilders or weightlifters because it's not. You can lift weights intensely. I lift weights intensely. I superset everything, and my rest is very minimized in this and that. So I'm not knocking that. What I'm talking about is the people that lie back and they do 10 reps and then they check the phone for 2-3 minutes and then they do it again. So that's easier than the intense workout. So they can't be bothered.
You saw my workout this morning. Is that what you were referring to?
No, I didn't see it. Let me. This guy keeps texting me. Hey, Mike, our tech guy mentioned. that your Facebook doesn't have
Mike
account
is
name.
always working, and so through a podcast, he can not only check his text, but make sure that everything's going on in his professional empire that Mike is building.
Well, I am building an empire, and there he is again. He keeps sending the messages. Now, whilst I am...
Well, what's the dilemma? Can you share it with everybody what the dilemma is?
I can actually.
Okay,
I can. Here's the dilemma.
Yeah.
I'm doing a seminar
Okay.
in Toronto next Saturday.
Okay. Where's it at so we can plug that?
No, it's Robinson's. Is it Robinson's? I don't know.
Okay.
Robinson's Karate School or something.
Okay.
No, it's actually a good story. It's a good story.
Go.
He has a history of bringing up high-level martial art guys doing seminars and not paying them. So Henry Gracie did a video on Facebook. Ooh.
Go ahead.
Maybe we need to edit this out, but I'll carry on. But maybe edit that because I'm throwing him under a bus, aren't I? I just realised.
Well, if he did a video on Facebook, it's already out there.
Well, someone put a video on Facebook. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So this guy, Henry Gracie, put a video on Facebook saying, don't do a seminar with this guy. He doesn't pay anybody.
The guy that you're going to go do a seminar with.
Yes. Yeah. Don't do a seminar with this guy, anybody, because he doesn't pay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, there's a cause for concern.
Yeah.
So I forwarded it to my management. I said, here, check this out. And they said, well, that's why we got you paid in advance. So, but the 2 checks, one of them's cleared, the other one's still waiting on clearing, and it's just.
So to be clear, a lot of it's accusational.
No, exactly. And this guy, by all accounts, has put half the money in my account already.
He's 100% honest with you. That's the key.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that's what's going on, and he's asking some stuff, whatever, some bits and bats.
And are we all clarified though? Are we all good and on the same page, and you feel good about it?
I feel good.
Okay.
I'm going to Toronto. I'm going to New York, and then I'm going to Toronto.
And the weather's
I was going to go to England.
Yeah,
but you bowed
I
out.
canceled that trip, but we'll be going back in March.
Sorry, Mum. I was going to go see her on that trip as well. No, whatever. She's almost dead, Adam. Thanks. I never see her again. It's your fault.
All right, so we're
back to hitting bags.
No, listen. So you said it nicely. Is that you found it as a release, which is good. But I think the point is that if done correctly, if you're in the right environment and you're doing the class the right way, you can get a hell of a workout. It's a mental release as well.
Yeah. No. It's a mental release. It's a physical release. It's many things. But like for me, I have a punch bag in my garage. Yeah. That I mean, of course, I went down.
By the way, in the US, it's garage. It's not garage.
Yeah.
You said a garage.
Garage.
All right, it's garage.
Garage.
I'm just helping you out.
If you're from London and you talk like this, you say garage. But I'm from the north. Yeah. Okay. Right. If you've seen Game of Thrones, it's where all the badasses live. Yeah. So I'm. Anyway, I have a punch bag in my garage, and I use it frequently, and mainly to stay in shape. I mean, I do like to run, so I like to do a healthy mix of everything. I like to run a little bit. My knees don't allow me to do that as much anymore. I like to run. I like to hit the bag. Hitting the bag's a big one, and it's good for muscle tone, not just for cardio. It's good for many things.
You know what's funny is people come up to me and said, yeah, Adam, I went and took boxing conditioning. It was a hell of a workout. My shoulders are exhausted.
Yeah, oh yeah.
My shoulders are in pain. And the first thing I said, oh, well, that means you that's good, but you know that you're working the wrong muscle group. Because boxing conditioning, if done correctly, you're really working your core.
Well, core is the main thing. It really is.
If your shoulders aren't being
no, for sure. The core is everything. Yeah. The core is with punching power as well. It's all the core. Now people might say, "Shut up, Bisping. You're not known for being a Mike Tyson in the punching division." I guarantee I'll knock out anyone in this room. No disrespect.
I don't know about that.
So I think I've got only behind Anderson. In fact, I might have more finishes than Anderson Silva actually. So whatever. Even though everyone likes to call me.
How many finishers do you have?
A lot. People like to call me pillow fists. Okay.
Pillow face.
Pillow fists.
Fist.
Yeah, and there's all these like.
You did. In fairness to the people that are accusing you of this, there was like 7 or 8 fights that you went through in a row that you didn't knock anybody out.
Yeah, but guess what? You can't always knock them out.
Yeah.
Like
maybe you were smarter than them and you out.
Well, I knocked out Lou Rockhold and won the world titles. That's all that matters. I knocked him.
At the most important time.
At the most important time, it showed up.
Which, by the way, when you hit him, when you had the hit that knocked him out,
best feeling of my life.
Did it register right away that strike knocked this guy on the ground?
Yeah, massively. So we were in there, we're going.
Well, by the way, was it your offense or was it his mistake?
No, it was my offense. I threw the punch at him. Yeah. He didn't headbutt my hand. Yeah, I definitely threw the punch. That's for sure. No, we were there. He came in. I threw a right to the body. Came over the top with a left hook, and it hit. And generally, punches like that do the damage. You know, because you get the feedback on your fist. Just like hitting the pads when you're doing a session with the coach.
You hit it direct.
I hit it and I felt it, and he fell, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ! I don't believe. Yeah, exactly. Because I was like, it was 2 weeks' notice. I thought, I'm going to be lucky to get out of the first round there. I hit him. He went down. I was like, holy shit! I ran at him. He was, he's very good at jiu-jitsu, so I was careful not to get in his guard. Yeah. Oh no! Then he got back up, hit him again. He went down a second time, and anyway, that was that.
But he had the look in his eyes that he was.
Yeah, no, he was gone. He was done. It was over. But going back to what you said, the core is everything, because obviously that generates the power. I mean, the expression what they use is arm punches. Okay, when someone just punches with their arms, it might be bothersome, but you're not going to generate any power. It's the core that delivers everything. So when you're swinging punches at a bag, you're doing sit-ups almost at the time. Yeah. Of course, it starts with your legs, from your feet up through your legs to your hips to your core, and then the last thing is your arms. So yeah, of course, somebody might say that because they're using mainly their arms. But if they're not used to it, their arms will be tired. But that's why it is an all-body workout. Yeah. So as I say, it starts from your feet all the way up, out to your fists.
So once you have the fundamentals of technique down, you're using almost every muscle in your
body. Every muscle, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like swimming.
Yeah.
That's what they say about swimming. I don't swim.
You've never swam? Do you know how to swim?
I'll beat you in a swimming race. Let's put it like that.
There's no way. There's no way you're going to...
I have zero technique, but I'm like a madman coming through the water flashing everywhere.
Let's be clear about one thing.
That's how I swim.
Let's be clear on one thing.
But I move.
There's one thing you can beat me in, and that's fighting. Which is a pretty good thing to have the one thing on.
Chess?
No.
You don't play chess, do you?
It doesn't matter.
You don't play chess?
I don't play chess.
You don't play...
But if I
What kind of... Listen, I'm sorry. And I hate this to be a knock on everyone, the majority of people watching this. What is it with Americans and not playing chess?
Because we're highly productive people, and we have stuff to do.
Any reasonable level of intelligence, there should be a decent chess playing game there with it. And if you don't even know the rules or how to play chess, listen, he told me to read Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which I have done, and now I realise there was a massive insult because he's saying you need to get a grip of your emotional intelligence.
How far he's come.
Adam, by I don't know when.
Yeah.
You gotta learn chess, man.
All right. Well, I will
I've read the book, but I'm halfway through it.
I will pick up chess. I do know that if you get all the guys out of the way, that you can go a straight line and then get the biggest piece, right? You knock them down.
That's not what you do. That's not what you do. That is not. You're trying to get him in checkmate. Listen, there's another thing. I'm shocked. You're an intelligent man. You're a successful man. You run a great empire here at UFC Gym. But fact is, you don't know how to play chess.
But we were talking about...
You lose.
All right, fair enough. Let's keep it moving.
Let's go back to the bags.
Yeah. So
that's two things, just to clarify.
So listen, in the UFC gym world right now, we feel like we create this incredible workout experience for everybody, and we really based it on an athlete like you, right? So when we started investigating how to build these gyms, we said, how does a guy like Mike Bisping work out, and how can we build a facility around him that would be almost heaven for you, right? So imagine having a big old UFC gym where you grew up.
My word, and don't mean to cut you off, but you really have created that, because I walk into some of these gyms, like for example, recently I was in the one in Huntington Beach, the big new one there, and it just blows my mind, and I think, wow. Imagine having this at my disposal when I was starting out. You know, it's incredible. You've got jiu-jitsu rooms, you've got all the weightlifting equipment you need, you've got TRX, you've got the sauna, the steam rooms, the stretch, just any and everything it has. You got the running track, it's just got everything. It's insane. It blows my mind. It's everything there under one roof at your disposal. World-class coaching. It really is. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of the podcast. I think, Jesus Christ, pardon my language, I think, wow, look, it's exceptional. It's beautiful. They're incredible. They're amazing. That's why I'm sitting here having a beer with you.
Thank you. And by the way, there was no payment to Mike to say that.
No. There is one that's outstanding, but we won't talk about that. I do owe something.
But you know what's even more rewarding, and those are all great things, but when you see like a single mom bring in a teenage boy and they have trouble connecting because you got mom, son.
Of course.
They come into the club and the teenage boy's out of shape and they both enroll, and all of a sudden you see mom going in the class and all of a sudden she's never hit a bag before in her life, and now you see her starting to hit a bag and gaining confidence and feeling better about herself. And then parallel to that, her son gets in a youth class and he starts to do the same thing, and now you think about the journey that they had. They walked in depressed and they walked in not getting the best version of themselves. You fast forward 3 or 4 months of doing boxing conditioning and really pushing themselves, they walk out completely different people.
Absolutely different people, and that's what I love about it so much as well, because and it still is to some people intimidating, but like to walk into like I don't know about here because I didn't grow up here, but in England, a lot of martial arts, they're very small, independent places. They maybe rent out a room in a building somewhere, and they get the mats out once a week because they have a little cupboard they can store the mats in, and they get the mats out, and you pay your money and this and that. And to go into those environments, it's hard, you know. But for children, especially, the rewards for children to be involved in martial arts are absolutely endless. And I say this all the time. Because people say to you, do your children do it? I say, yeah, of course they do. I don't want them to be cage fighters, which is to layman what we do. And I hate that expression, by the way. You'll never hear me refer to myself as a cage fighter. I'm not. I'm a martial artist and is a professional mixed martial artist. But
would you stop them from being martial artists?
Martial artists, no.
Fighting in the UFC.
Professional mixed martial artists isn't something I desire for my children. Yeah. But if they wanted to do it and they were serious about it, then I'd have to support them. Yeah. If Callum said to me he wanted to do that, yeah, my dad supported me and I'll support him. If he's serious about it, and I'll be a nightmare because I'll be his coach and I will live vicariously through him. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, yes, I'm retired, but it's okay because my son is just of age.
I could see those press conferences.
Yeah. He won't get a word in edgewise. I'll be like, no, shut up. Listen, what he means is, no, but for children and for those environments, it's hard for people. It's intimidating to walk in. With the UFC gym, obviously, everything's under one roof. And for children, I mean, it's endless. I'm sure you've been through it many, many times. So I don't need to bore people with that. But it's endless.
But it can make kids that are in a football player. If they do MMA, like a lot of professional athletes now are doing MMA training.
Of course. Athletes. Well, the guy that I spoke about that, I got in touch with when I was younger to become a professional mixed martial artist. He moved out to New Zealand. That's how we kind of drifted apart. He went out to New Zealand because he became a coach for the New Zealand national team because they're looking to replicate the struggles of a rugby match. And you can do that through MMA training. Mm-hmm. So and they're very similar sports. Yeah. The NFL and rugby, very similar in some way. So they use it as an ergo. Mm-hmm. I think that's the right word. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
As an ergo, as a replacement.
Well done. That's vernacular right there.
There you go.
So I got a couple questions for you.
Fire away. So, I will only answer them if I'm given another beer, though.
So I'm going to shoot a top 10 at you. And I just want quick answers.
Quick answers because I'm boring you. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Well, by the way, your explanation of boxing conditioning was on point. And we at UFC Gym for this month, our objective is that we're re-emphasizing how great a class boxing conditioning is, and how great the coaches are, and how great the members are, and the ambiance and the feeling of confidence and everything.
So let me add to that. So, for example, this morning, this isn't me being a salesman. This is me absolutely telling the truth.
Go ahead.
I can go lift weights by my house. I can go for a run by my house. I actually have a bag in my garage, as we detail. But even still, I jumped in the car and drove 45 minutes down to the gym that I work out with my boxing coach, and I worked the bags and I worked with him because it's more beneficial than all those other things. I don't have a fight on the table, and I've been doing this for so long. I don't need to go down there to try and get my punching technique better.
Yeah.
Okay, I've done it since I was 8 years old. I did it because as of right now, my primary objective is to stay in shape. You know, I in the summer, I had a couple of knee surgeries last year and I got heavy, and I had to work very, very hard to get all the weight off again, and I don't want to put it back on. So rather than just going and running at the gym or running around the block or going and lifting weights at the gym by my house, I drove 45 minutes down there to work out, to hit the bags and work with my boxing coach, because it's far more beneficial than all the other things I mentioned.
Yeah. No, I've been taking boxing conditioning in the month of January just to be part of what UFC gym's focused on, and you find something more about yourself, both physically and mentally, if you give it your all.
Yeah,
You
no,
just go in
absolutely.
there,
Well, it's like anything. If you're not putting effort in, you're going to be bored. You see people sometimes they do that, and it's like, you might as well not bother.
But as I was taking class, I was like, man, these instructors, they know how to, when you're hitting that plateau mentally, they know how to help you push through.
Yeah, for sure, and that is part of the beauty, because sometimes if you can't find it within yourself to push yourself when you got somebody breathing down your neck and forcing you to push yourself, it makes a difference.
Which, by the way, Mike owns, with Cub Swanson, owns Costa Mesa, and it has the UFC gym's world's largest bag rack.
Oh, is that true?
It is. It's
Great.
like a block long.
Sounds
if
cheap.
You think about it, yeah. I get reminded of that all the time. But the interesting thing...
I thought there's too many bags.
The interesting thing is, for people that don't know or haven't been to the Costa Mesa Club, it used to be a car dealership, so it has glass all the way around it, and then you go out in the back and there's an open pit.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you think about where people used to change oils and get their cars worked on, there's an open pit that has no ceiling on it, and so the light comes in.
Yeah, it's
you got
great.
fresh air, and you got great boxing classes and performance classes going on.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Nothing in that club when it's 6 p.m. and you're doing a boxing conditioning class. There's nothing like it.
No, it's amazing.
It's incredible.
Even still, last night at 6 p.m. when it's pouring down with rain.
People are still out there.
Which is very rare for Southern California, but that was the situation last night, and I went out there and I was expecting it dead, and you might have saw it on my Instagram story, and it was booming, it was firing, it really was.
By the way, who drives better in the rain, people in London or people in Southern California?
Well, people in Southern California just aren't used to it. I do not adjust my driving pattern at all.
You don't?
Well, no, because they're designed to deal with a bit of rain. Those expensive tyres that you pay for?
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming so.
Fair. All right. What comes to your mind, right? You don't have 10 minutes to...
Quick fire question. I get it, Adam.
All right. Very quickly, tell us the first joke on your mind.
First joke on my mind. What do you call a man with a rubber toe?
What?
Roberto.
I like it. Not bad. I'll use that one. Your favorite fighter outside of yourself?
Favorite fighter outside of myself? You know what? I always struggle to answer this question, because people always say who inspired you and this and that, and the reality is nobody.
Let me ask you.
I didn't know anything about the UFC, and when I got into this, I wasn't aspiring to be someone. I wasn't basing on someone. I was just literally sick of being broke. So I don't look at anyone, but there is many people I respect and think, wow, they're very good.
Who do you like? Who would you buy a pay-per-view to watch?
Oof. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, listen, come on, who doesn't watch Conor McGregor fight, as much as I hate to drop his name? Yeah. Francis Ngannou, definitely right now there's a lot of hype behind him. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of fighters on the UFC roster that I very, very much enjoy.
Yeah, and by the way, you are a commentator on Fox?
Yes.
Right, how many times are you doing it? Once, twice a week?
No, I don't know. It depends. I'm doing this weekend the fights in St. Louis. Yeah. It's sporadic.
Are you comfortable being a commentator?
No, of course. Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. Who's your Hollywood crush?
Oh my God, Hollywood crush. Well, when I was a kid, I mean, she's old now. Currently.
Who's the old one?
No, in 1995.
Who is it?
In 1995,
Who is it?
In the movie The Mask, I was in love with Cameron Diaz. But that was you know. But wait, by the way, I saw it the other day and I was like, what was I so obsessed about? Hollywood crush. Honestly, I don't have one. I will say this: I do admire the female form.
You do. I mean,
But
you
I
can
love
respect
my
it.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is. I don't go, oh my God, that's my girl.
Yeah.
I'm not 12.
But there's
I
not a
don't-
movie you would go, like if Cameron Diaz is in a romantic role, you
No, I
wouldn't
don't
go
give a
see it.
fuck about Cameron Diaz.
Well, you got all your flashbacks when you were a teenager doing whatever you were
No,
doing.
it was the other
watching
night.
it.
Mask was on TV and I was watching it, and it reminded me. I was like, "Wow!" Because my friend had a flat apartment, and then we go around there and we'd drink. It was in those days, and then we got sick of listening to music with VHS. What VHS tapes did we have? We'd stick the Mask on. We watched Mask every week. I go, "Geez."
Do your kids know what VHS is?
No, to the hell. Anyway, whatever.
Favorite food?
Once again, depends what mood I'm in for. Thai or Italian.
You're about to be put to death. You get one last meal. What is it?
It's a hard question.
Thank you. I asked the tough ones.
Yeah, gritty stuff. Real gritty. I mean, what's he called? Is it David Frost? No, what's he called?
Nixon Frost?
No, what's he called? Larry King. He's got nothing on you, man. David Frost is English. I mean, I do like a good steak with all the trimmings and whatnot. I do like Thai food. I do like Italian. Italian or Thai or American steakhouse.
And what's the restaurant? Strip steak? Is it? What's the restaurant?
Oh, in Vegas, I like strip steak.
Is that your favorite restaurant?
I don't know. No, it's not. No, actually, I like Carbone's in Vegas, which is an Italian, old school New York style Italian. It's amazing. Have you been there?
Never.
Dude, you gotta check it out.
You have to take me.
I will. You can pay on UFC Gym. It's not cheap.
It reminds me. I don't know if I ever told you guys this story, but we set up a deal with Mike we were working on a deal with Mike to do UFC Gym, and
is this a Vegas story?
it is.
He's been dining out on this one for years.
Yeah. But I think it's important to just get it out there.
Yeah, to do it. Throw it out.
So I was not only a fan of doing a business deal with Mike, but I also, I was a fan of him. I mean, what's there not to be a fan of this guy?
You are so full of shit.
If you look,
I remember when we first met, sitting down at a restaurant in Irvine with Brent, me, and Audie, and you were eyeballing me up and down, thinking, "Who is this rapscallion?
Not true
There's
at all.
no way we're getting into
Not
bed
true
with
at
this
all.
one."
Not true at
So
all.
don't give me that we were a fan. You give me your
I
sternest
tell you what,
look.
back then, and this I think was even before the Hall of Fame was the Hall of Fame, I go, this guy's a Hall of Famer. And I was looking at him and I'm like, okay, this would be great to do business with, with a future icon in the MMA.
Icon.
So we ended up continuing to have working
Dialogue.
dialogue together, and I think the spot that we go to a lot is BJ's, and we had a lot of business conversations at BJ's, and I started thinking, man, maybe Mike likes me a little bit. Maybe there's
We're friends.
There's a relationship there. I'm going to throw a couple social media things on there. I'm going to tag him, and here we go. We're in business. So I was feeling very confident, and then there was a fight weekend in Vegas. And I went out there for UFC Gym and did my thing out there, and I was looking at all my emails, and I came across a couple of Mike posts and thinking, man, it's my buddy. I knew Mike was there.
That's my
I
buddy.
think Mike was commentating there, and so I was at this hamburger place in the casino, just getting a quick bite to eat so I could get back to work, and then all of a sudden, I see Mike walk in. And he's got a smile on his face. He's walking in.
You're such a liar. It was the
walking-
exact opposite. I was
walking in.
fuming.
Don't
I was
listen
walking
to
around like a
my-
bear
my-
with a sore head. I was
Emotional
pissed off.
Intelligence 2.0. So I go, hey Mike. I was happy as could be. I was like, man, it's good to see you. Come on, let's hang out a little bit. And literally, he had eye contact with me and he goes, whatever. And walked out, going like 10 miles an hour, walking out of the place. And I was, my everything about me just dropped.
Your soul was
my
crushed.
God, this guy that I thought we were friends.
You were crushed.
Connected,
You were
he
crushed.
just walked out, didn't even bother to
You were
acknowledge
crushed.
my
You were
existence.
crushed, and I apologize. You just didn't make the show list that day. Now the true story is that I was having a personal difference with somebody close to my team that shall remain nameless right now.
Please. Yeah.
And we were at a UFC event, and I'm at a UFC event and everyone's just pulling me for pictures and this and that. And I was annoyed about something. Again, I won't go into details. I was like, do you know what? I don't even want to watch these fights. So I'm going to leave. And I left. But as I left the arena, I realised I was starving. And I thought, do you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to go grab a bite to eat, sit and have a beer, and everyone else can fuck off. Okay? And then as I'm going into this hamburger place, everyone again is pulling me. Hey, Bisping, picture. Because it's at a UFC fight. I'm not making out that I'm a big deal, but where there's a UFC fight, there's a high concentration of UFC fans.
And you always deliver for the fans.
No, I do.
Even if you're in a bad mood,
I always do. I always stop and this and that, but it was getting a little bit much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I was having a bad afternoon. It was early, wasn't it? Like 6, 7 o'clock. I was a little stressed out, and I was like stopping. I was like, oh Jesus Christ, yeah, cheese, but in my mind, my internal doubt was like, leave me alone, please, because I just want to sit there and just like text my wife and say, this guy in particular is an asshole. And then I heard, Mike, like a desperate Mike. It was like, Mike! And I was like, by this point, I was like that. I didn't even know it was you. And then I walked off, and then I was going the wrong way, and I came back, and I saw him, and I went, oh, Adam, how you doing, buddy?
And to be
Sat
fair,
down, shook his hand.
Yeah.
And paid for your hamburgers then.
Maybe I remember it that way. I don't know.
So two sides of a story.
Yeah. I guess it's how you look at it.
It is.
Favorite movie?
Oof. Jesus Christ, these are hard questions. One that I typically go to, but it's not.
You gonna say Triple X?
No, it's not my favorite movie. This isn't my favorite movie, but it's one of Back to the Future.
Why?
Just reminds me of when I was a kid.
Did you watch it when you were in London? Back to the Future?
What, in England?
Yeah.
London's just a city in England.
Sorry,
Yeah.
UK. Let me just keep it easy.
We're in Seattle now, are we?
What do you mean?
Are we in Seattle?
No.
No, we're in America. So I didn't watch it in London.
Thank you.
I didn't live in London.
Master Bisping, thank you for the geography.
Oh no, we're in I watched it in Washington. No,
it came out when you were 5.
Yeah, and I loved it, and I got this. I got these birthday presents. It was all Back to the Future themed, and I've watched it a million times. That was one of my favourite, childhood movies. Yeah.
You ever go to Universal Studios and go through the whole back lot?
I've been to Universal many times, but never done that.
Oh well, it's the whole Back to the Future set.
Oh, it is. Yeah. By that point, I want to kill my kids. You know what I mean? Yeah. You go and you do the SpongeBob, you do the Simpsons ride, you do this and that, and by then I want to strangle.
But that's
someone.
when they're younger. They're older now. They don't even want to do that. They just want to.
No. My daughter doesn't want to do anything. She doesn't want to not do Universal. She doesn't just want to acknowledge my existence.
How many beers can you take down if you really tried at one time? How many beers do you think you could take down? Or what's your record?
I don't see. I'm not cheesy like that. I don't keep a record. I'm not in a fraternity.
But you're not reflective on the prior night.
I could do a lot though. It depends. If I could. I'm accomplished at many things.
Could you get down a 12-pack without a problem?
Yeah.
Could you go 24?
I don't know. I have done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done.
That is impressive.
With the boys back in the day in a former life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With all due respect to your MMA accomplishments, that is incredibly impressive.
Back in the day. Yeah. Back in the day. See, where I'm from, people just live for the weekend.
True.
It's true. That's what they do, and they go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. They work all week, and then they go blow it all at the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's a bloody good time, but it's not conducive to a healthy life or an ambitious life.
How long have you been in the U.S. for now? Living here?
6.5 years.
So when you see a soccer game, is it football or soccer?
Yeah, it's football.
Still football. You're not going to change.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but we do use a ball and we do kick it with our feet.
Yeah.
So hence football.
Yeah.
And you use a ball and you throw it with your hands.
Are you?
It should be a handball.
And for the purpose of clarifying, let's just call the word soccer.
But I do say soccer.
Are you a soccer fan? Can you watch it on TV?
Oh, absolutely.
Is it not the most boring sport in the history of sports?
No, it's not. It's good. When I was a kid, I thought so. When I was a kid, I wasn't interested in any sports whatsoever. But now, I enjoy soccer.
Do you watch football?
Football?
American football?
Yeah, sometimes.
Do you have a soccer screen and a football screen? Which screen are you watching?
definitely the soccer. But I need a team to follow so then I can get emotionally invested in the football.
Yeah. Any other sports you like? Baseball.
Boxing. Baseball is the worst sport I've ever seen in my life.
Too slow for you.
I went to. So everyone was telling me.
Oh, I saw you on the TV.
The GSP fight. They was like, "Dude, those tickets were like $15,000." Yeah. As soon as my media obligation was done, I was out of there. They're like, "Are you serious? You're gonna leave?" I'm like, "Yeah, this sucks. It's terrible."
You left a World Series game like in the third inning?
Yeah, I left as soon as they went, "Yeah, you're done." I went, "Right, great, let's go."
Like, that's painful.
Let's get out of here.
That is painful.
I was bored out of my mind. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you know how to play? Have you played the sport?
In England, we have a version called rounders.
Yeah.
Which is basically baseball.
Yeah. Did you play?
But you don't do like this with the bat. Yeah. You hold it with one hand and go. Tsh. Is it softball? Is that softball?
No. Softball's thrown underhand.
Yeah, and that's what you do in rounders. You throw it underhand.
All right. Give us one thing right now that nobody knows about you. That you've done a zillion interviews. You got a lot of stuff on social. Just give us something behind the scenes that nobody knows.
Oh my God, that's a difficult question. I mean, there's many things. What do I choose to put out there?
While you're thinking about that, I'll give you an opportunity to think about that for a second. Are you doing additional acting? Because you've been in.
Am I doing what? Any? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You've been in 5 movies now, right?
No more. I think I've got 12 credits or something on IMDb.
Sorry, 12. We've got 12 credits.
12 movies isn't bad. Let's have a look. I don't know.
What's your favorite role?
What do you mean? What's my
your
favorite role?
Out of all those movies, what's your favorite role?
Well, for me, even though you like to talk shit about the.
Was it Roy Shaw?
That was good actually. 13. You know, Roy Shaw was good. Even though you like to talk smack about Triple X, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
No. I'm not talking. I'm just saying that the story wasn't realistic.
No, of course it's a Hollywood blockbuster action movie. It's very far-fetched.
He gets hit by a car, and then all of a sudden he stands back up and he goes and fights it.
I didn't do that, but that for me. So I've done a lot of low-budget stuff, and then to be involved with something of that
was the biggest movie
of that scale.
And you're in the sequel.
Hopefully filming like June this year.
Yeah. So out of that, that was the best movie you've probably been in. What's the one that you had the most amount of lines in, where you participated the most?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, so for dialogue, they haven't been that.
You're comfortable acting though?
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah. No, I do a lot of acting. Hopefully, a lot of acting training. Pardon me. Got a show, a Netflix show. We're not signed it, so I'm not going to say it. But 6 episodes in the new season. Coming up soon. So
can I make a recommendation?
Please do.
You would be great at Barney and Friends. As kind of the co-host.
Is that the dinosaur?
The purple dinosaur.
Yeah. It's great. I think that's you actually, Adam. The prehistoric one.
All right. Going back to the question.
What was the question?
One thing that nobody knows about you, or that would be surprising about you.
Well, one thing that the majority of people watching this would be very surprised to find out is that I'm actually an absolute pussycat, and I'm totally soft and very, very emotional, and I feel sorry for everybody, and I try to help everybody. And I saw a woman today as I was pulling in off Dyer at the exit, and she's standing there begging. I'm like, crap, because I was the one that stopped right next to her. I'm like, I've got to give her something.
Yeah, it's on you.
And I looked at her and I thought, she's a mess as well. She's clearly a meth head. You know what I mean? But still, I couldn't. I'm sat there in a nice car. You know.
What'd you do?
Well, I looked in my wallet and I was devastated. The smallest I had was $10. I was like,
did you do it?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, but you know, I was like, please be a 1. Shit, because once they see you looking in your wallet,
you're committed.
Fucked.
You're committed.
You can't go, sorry, I've only got hundreds. Do you know what I mean? You can't say that. So I was like, bastard, a 10, not even a 5.
Yeah.
Love animals. I won't kill anything. I won't kill insects.
You won't.
No.
So if you see a spider going, you'll pick it
I
up,
will go out of my way. I won't touch it. I'll get pieces of paper and then I take it out. Whereas my wife will just go and kill it. And I'm like, you can't do that.
And she doesn't second guess it.
No, not at all. But I'm like, you can't do that, babe. I said, and she says they don't have feelings. I'm like, she says their brains aren't big enough. I'm like, I know, but how would you like it if something like 10,000 times the size of us just came down and squished us?
Yeah.
It's not very nice, is it?
It's kind
you don't have to kill the spider.
It's really karma, right?
Well, exactly. But the younger son Lucas, yeah, he'll kill them.
Yeah,
he's a little shit.
Which, by the way, so every once in a while, it's funny because I have conference calls with Mike, and when he takes him from home, every 60 seconds or so, Lucas is running around the entire house, just running the house, and I'm hearing
naked.
Lucas, I'm on a call. Can you keep it down?
That's like when I'm doing my podcast as well. I'm like, shut those kids up. Come on, please.
But Lucas is the instigator, right?
Oh yeah, no, he's great though. He's awesome. He's funny.
Yeah. All right, so listen, Mike Bisping owns a club in Costa Mesa that's doing exceptionally well. It's on Harbor, right off the 405. And you got to Mike's going to be doing some coaching, some actually boxing conditioning coaching out there. So if you're interested, hit us on social media, and we can let you know how to connect with Mike. Doing some boxing conditioning at Costa Mesa. I think we went through. First of all, it was good to get to know a little bit more about you and your childhood and what kind of motivated you to get to where you're at today. But then understanding the interpretation from you of what makes boxing conditioning unique. The benefits that somebody can get from it was fantastic. So we certainly appreciate you taking the time to participate.
It's quite all right. But as I say, this morning, that's a prime example of how important it is. And if you've got a facility close to you, you should take advantage of it. As I say, I have other facilities close to me, but I drove all the way down nearly an hour to basically do a class like that, to hit the bags, work with the coach. So if you've got that on your doorstep, then you're lucky. I don't have that on my doorstep. So
there's no better month right now than January, right?
There you go. Sign up, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you for the first ever podcast, Mr. Mike Bisping.
Well, we like to start off with a bang.
We did start off with a bang, that's for sure. All right, thank you, everybody. Till next time.